And I miss the man I was, the moment we left. And I hate how become. Every time I wake up.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Leo B. the Lion. I'm about to throw it over to him right now. I just wanted to let you know you're listening to Subculture Radio on subcultureradio.com. Here we go, buddy. Take it away.
Welcome to the second edition of the Leo B. the Lion Show. So without further ado, boom, boom. It's the Leo B. the Lion Show. Boom, boom. Gonna tell you what you need to know. Boom, boom. Now here comes your boy, Leo. As always, thank you to Subculture Group, subcultureradio.com, coming to you live every Monday from 5 to 6. Happy to bring it to you. Thank you, Rodney, for the outlet. And I'm excited to bring you the second episode of Leo B. the Lion Show today. Shout out to my producer, Hunter, for putting it all together, making sure my levels all are all right. And we're going to be actually filming via YouTube. So if you want to stream live, you can stream it live, the recording, subcultureradio.com, or I'll have it for you via YouTube. And in the future, we'll be able to download the video and audio wherever podcasts are downloaded, and I'll have it on my website, Leo B. the Lion Show. So let's get into the show today. I'm really excited. I'm super excited. We have a jam-packed show for you today. We have 5 of the best sports topics, 5 of the most pertinent sports topics. Actually, scratch that, 4 sports topics. And then we have one little, like, Monday fun day. You know, Sunday can't have all the fun. It's our first day back to the work week. Got to have a little fun. So I'll be talking to you a little fun, throw something out of left field. So the show looks like this today. Today we're going to be talking about my team, the Miami Dolphins, and some training camp notes. What's Tua doing? What are the receivers are doing? What's up with the defense? What's up with the Dolphins fans? We'll get into all that. Then I'm going to be talking to you about the Deshaun Watson verdict. So we know he had upwards of 30 allegations of sexual assault from hiring women to under the guise that he would be getting a massage, an NFL, a massage after he plays the games to relax his muscles, stuff like that. Well, it turns out that he had upwards of 30 assault allegations. He was able to settle with 20 of them through the Texans, and then they've just settled all the civil suits. No criminal charges were brought, and they settled all the civil suits recently, and the NFL just handed down via a third-party arbiter, the sentence for the NFL where he's suspended for 6 games. Now, a lot of people have a problem with this. Deshaun Watson, over a year having all this allegation, a lot of people do have a problem with this, so I'll get into that. They think it's not a strong enough penalty for Deshaun Watson, and I tend to agree. I mean, we'll get into the details a little further. Then I couldn't have a show the Monday after this legend's passing without speaking about him. His name is Bill Russell. You may have heard of him. 11 championships, Boston Celtic great. Some would say the first Boston Celtic great, and the one to turn basketball into a high-flying sport. So I'll give you a little bit, not only about Bill Russell's playing days, not only about his accolades on the court, but what type of civil rights leader he was and how he was the perfect person in the 60s to take the mantle of a civil rights leader and to show people of color and to show those marginalized groups that they can win, that they can succeed, and that they can set a great example and be a leader of men. Then I'm going to switch it to my left field topic. We're going to be talking about Nick in the 90s. Yo, I'm a child of the 90s. I'm an 80s baby, child of the 90s. And last week I got in my head a couple things from Nick in the 90s that I hadn't thought about in a while. And so I want to bring it to you and see if I got any millennials or geriatric millennials out here listening and want to comment. And if you want to comment on any of my videos or any of my recordings, you can shoot me a message on Facebook at Leo Bejarano. That's Leo, last name Bejarano, Bejarano, or on Instagram at Leo Be the Lion 87, or on Twitter at Leo Be the Lion Show. I'm happy to respond to any comments, good, bad, indifferent. I'm ready to debate any sports topics. Or if you think Deshaun Watson got a bad rap, or you think he got too many games, or you have something to say about the Dolphins, bring it on. I know there's a lot of northeastern fans that have transplanted down here. We got a lot of Yankees fans, a lot of Mets fans, Jets fans, Giants fans, and especially Patriots fans. So if you guys want to comment and we can keep that friendly rivalry going, I'd love to hear from you on socials. Then the last topic we're going to be discussing today on Leo Be the Lion Show is one of my favorite things. Well, let's just say I like to gamble. I like to put the chips in front of the table and go all in sometimes, and we'll be talking about sports gambling. Why hasn't Florida legalized sports gambling? Is it political? Is it have something to do with history? And chances are it probably does, because those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So let's get right into it today, guys. Let's start talking about the Miami Dolphins. Listen, this season, the 2022-2023 season, is some of the highest expectations that I've ever felt for the Dolphins as a Dolphins fan. And it's not just me. It's other people on Twitter. It's other people on social. It's other people in the Palm Beach Post, on Sentinel. Just excited about the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill, in the past, when you've heard of a receiver being signed by the team, you got excited. I was excited when the Dolphins got Mike Wallace, but he didn't do much. He dropped more balls. He was fast, but he, for some reason, couldn't get open. So I had a little trepidation when I saw that the Dolphins got Tyreek Hill. But I'm super excited because he's showing us already. He's showing flashes of the greatness that he had in Kansas City. And he's showing how he can make the team better, and how he can make his quarterback better. And I believe Patrick Mahomes is probably the top 3 quarterbacks, if not the top quarterback in the league, with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. But I think Tua is destined to have one of his best seasons. It's only going to be his 3rd year in the league. He's finally the full-time starter. Yeah, he was the full-time starter last year, but he got injured, and we had issues with that. But this year, we've got the O-line upgraded. Fans are ready and excited and willing to see Tua show up and show out and have a Marino-esque type season. If Tua can have over 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, and let's just say 15 interceptions, I'll take that any day. I'll take that every day of the week, twice on Sundays, 3 times on Mondays, because that's when my show is aired, 5 to 6. So I'll be talking about Tua if he has a great game or a couple great games. Let's just put to bed these rumors. People say, the pundits say, the analysts say, from SportsCenter to Fox Sports Radio, ESPN, all the different platforms, they talk about how Tua's arm was a noodle, how Tua's arm he can't throw the ball more than 20 yards downfield. And forever I would say, well, look what he did in Alabama. He had Devontae Smith. He had Jalen Waddle. he had the speedsters in Alabama, and he didn't underthrow them then. And now that he has Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and I don't know if you've missed it, but if you look at Dolphins Twitter, it had Dolphins Twitter basically falling in love all over again with Tua. He threw a 65-yard play-action pass with basically 60 or 55 yards in the air to Tyreek Hill, and he didn't underthrow Tyreek Hill. He almost overthrew Tyreek Hill. And to have somebody who's 99 speed on Madden and you almost overthrow them, that's a darn good quarterback right there. And also, he put it right on the money where if any of you have ever played football, when a quarterback throws you the ball and he puts it right out in front of you where it's maybe a half step too far, your momentum will keep your speed going. As soon as you catch the ball, your momentum will keep the speed going. So you want that ball right out in front so you can reach out full extension and grab it and keep running down the field. So now if we combine Tua's power, and I'm not going to say he has a John Elway arm or let's say an Aaron Rodgers arm because those are two of the strongest arms, or even a Dan Marino arm. He doesn't have one of those cannon arms. But he's definitely got an arm. Like, he's definitely got a serviceable yet great quarterback type arm. He's got the makeup for it, and he's accurate. He had the seventh best accuracy in the league last year at 66.5%, and I think he was sixth in true accuracy, which I guess they take into account if the pass is short or if the pass is long or what have you. And he had a better completion percentage than Patrick Mahomes on passes deeper than 20 yards. So let's put to bed that Tua talk. Let's just see what he does. I know one thing. He's definitely going to be better than Ryan Tannehill, and we gave Ryan Tannehill 7 of the best years of our lives in Miami, and he didn't do much. I think he got us 1 playoff win, if I'm remembering. I might be misremembering because there might only be 1 or 0 playoff wins. But I just want to say, those Dolphins fans and those non-Dolphins fans, if you want to get a little tidbit, talk with your friends, the Dolphins offense this year is going to be such a zone run, timing, RPO offense. So Mike McDaniel comes from the West Coast, comes from the San Francisco 49ers, where he was the running backs coach. He wants to run the ball. We got Raheem Mostert. We got Chase Edmonds. We have Myles Gaskin still. We have Savon Ahmed still. We want to run the ball. But we want to do a run scheme where it's not just if I'm the tackle, I'm getting on the D end. It's a zone scheme. So basically, instead of blocking a guy, like you put a hat on a hat, you would block the zone in front of you. So if they're running to the left, the O-line would want to, whoever, say if you're the center, and then you're blocking to the left, and then you go to the left and you see the left guard right in your face, you're blocking the left guard. You're not going to block. I mean, you're blocking the D tackle. You're not going to block the nose tackle. So it's a nice scheme because it does allow those speedster backs like Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds to be able to cut back and to be able to find running lanes, typically pick a lane and go. So there's the A gap, there's the B gap, there's the C gap. They'll be able to see the lane, see the gaps, and be able to pick a gap, maybe cut it, make one cut, and try to get up the hole and get up the field. So I'm excited about that. But you just talked all about Leo be the line. You just talked all about Tua. What's up with the running game? Well, I want to tell you that it's gonna make Tua that much better to have a timing offense. When you have fast receivers, when you have speedsters in the backfield, you want a timing offense because if you can stay on schedule with your offense, you'll be able to establish the run. Then once you establish the run, you'll be able to make those play action passes and know when it's 3.5 seconds, the ball will be out of my hands if I'm Tua, and Tyreek Hill should be sprinting across the middle about 16.3 yards deep down the field, right down the seam, and he'll be there with the post pattern ready to catch the ball. And it just makes the game a lot easier for the quarterback. Yeah, if the defense throws the team off schedule, throws the Dolphins off schedule, it'll be a little trouble, but we know from Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, quarterbacks make plays. Quarterbacks get paid for what they do on third down and what they do when the team is off schedule. So I'm excited to see what Tua can do when he's under pressure and to see if that O-line can hold up for him so that he can show why he is the chosen one. I really think that he is the chosen one. His family, his father in Hawaii, when he was born, named him Tua Tagovailoa because in the native Samoan language, the native language, and excuse me if I mess this up, but in the native language, it means something like a legendary person. So his name, people say, what's in a name? But I believe the name is really important and where you can get a sense of pride from. So ever since he was young, he's been groomed to be a great quarterback. He was the best quarterback on Hawaii. He broke the record. He broke Mackenzie Milton's yardage record in Hawaii for Hawaii high school sports. Then he came to Alabama, and he just won a national championship in overtime. Oh, nothing big. Yeah, the injuries derailed him, and the media, they like to jump on any injuries, especially a hip injury, because it could have been a career-ending injury, but it wasn't. So now Tua's back and better than ever, stronger. He's put on weight. If you look at him from this first rookie season to now, he's definitely put on weight. He hasn't skipped leg day. So he's really getting it together, and he's really focused. And during the offseason, once we got Tyreek Hill, you could see pictures of him practicing with the receiving core, with the tight ends, and to make the Dolphins that much better and to be that much more prepared. So one other note real quick about Tua is he has great pocket presence. He can get out and run. He trucked the Jets defensive back last year, and that was awesome. I jumped out of my seat. He can run. He has that little dead leg juke where he will plant his leg into the ground and go the opposite way, and he has shaken players. But he has great pocket presence. If his mindset is to pass first, then take off, I'll take that any day. I just hope that the Dolphins' O-line is upgraded enough with Connor Williams, with Teron Armstead, to really give him that time. And if not to give him the time, but to at least pick up those blitzes. Because picking up the blitzes and not being able to do that is what got him hurt last year. Two of the players to watch for on the Dolphins training camp news and notes. Trill Williams. Now, Trill Williams was drafted, I think, last year but he didn't make it with his team. And so now the Dolphins picked him up, and they're hoping that he can make the team as a third, fourth, or fifth corner or defensive back. And he already has an interception in training camp, and he's showing that flashes of greatness. So I'm excited for our team. I'm excited for the Dolphins. Fins up, baby. Hashtag fins up. Let's go. And then how could I forget to mention this guy? Channing Tindall. Channing Tindall is a rookie. He's already gotten comparisons to Cameron Wake, and he's bigger than all of our linebackers. He's our biggest linebacker and perhaps our fastest linebacker. So I'm excited to see the potential that he has. I'm excited to see him in the first couple of preseason games when they do play the backups, to see if he can show that he's deserving of maybe a starting position in our linebacking core. He's going to be playing primarily like an edge rusher or outside linebacker, so I'm excited for that. You know, you need speed on those positions so you can get to the quarterback, but also you need to be able to cover. And so I'm not sold on those coverage abilities. So we'll find out what type of capabilities he has once we start seeing the preseason and we get into the season. But I'm excited for those Dolphins defensive players. Now, one more thing that I kind of don't like about the Dolphins training camp. I have to say something I don't like. I got to keep myself honest, right? Like, I can't just be all about Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl. Nah. I do think they're going to go 12-5, and they're going to take a wild card spot. The Bills are going to be 13-4. Dolphins are going to be 12-5, and then the Jets and the Patriots are going to be bringing up the rear in the AFC East. But I'm tired. I know it's a gimmick, and I know it gets the people going, like Will Ferrell says. But it's the orange jersey at practice. At first, when Jalen Waddle got the first orange jersey, I was happy because I was like, okay, he performs great. The coach wants to give the orange jersey to the player that played the best the day before and allows them to control the aux cord and allows them to get extra looks at practice, get extra reps at practice, and basically to show the fans who are attending training camp, who are the players to watch out for by giving them the orange jersey the next day. But it's kind of turned into like a popularity contest. So, or the players that we hope are good versus the players that actually performed well. So the second day of training camp, the Dolphins had the orange jersey on Liam Eichenberg. Well, Liam Eichenberg didn't really do much to earn that orange jersey. And I'm noticing a pattern that it seems almost random players are getting the orange jersey when a day where Jalen Waddle probably should have had both orange jersey back to back, they switched it and gave it to Liam Eichenberg. So I kind of feel like it's the turnover chain for the U. It's kind of like it's too much of a gimmick for me. I'm not that much of a gimmick person. I kind of like to see through it and see the real deal, Holyfield, of what's going on. And so when I see that, I'm just like, okay, cool, we got the orange jersey. Nice, big whoop. Okay. So it's nice. It's fun to have it and make the players go in good spirits. And, yeah, for the fans attending training camp, they can highlight one player and fans can pay attention and get to learn a little bit more about those players. So that's just here nor there. But let's get into the next topic real quick. I'm just going to touch on it from a positive note. Now, it's going to be like the show's going to be like a sandwich today. It's going to be like a positive note, and then we're going to have like little things going on, and then we're going to end with a little positive note at the end. So after the Dolphins training camp news and notes, now let's get into the Deshaun Watson situation. So Deshaun Watson, like I said, he was never convicted of any criminal charges. However, he did settle the 26 sexual assault cases against him. What came out after the cases, after the punishment was released, he got suspended for 6 games from a third-party arbitrator for the NFL. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is not enough games because Calvin Ridley, the Falcons wide receiver, the star wide receiver, bet $1,500 on a parlay, on a 10-team parlay and some of them had his team to win. Had the Falcons to win. He got suspended for the whole season. So, and then we have Josh Cribbs, who wasn't able to stay with the Browns or the Patriots because multiple times he got suspended. First, he got suspended for 4 games, then 8 games, then the entire season. Then they reinstated him, and he got suspended again for the entire season because he wasn't able to pass the drug test because he was smoking weed. And then in this current climate, to really suspend somebody for smoking weed, especially in the NFL when players are exposed to painkillers, opioids, shots, stuff like that, you're going to suspend somebody for trying to do something therapeutic and basically relieve pain in a natural way by smoking weed. I really think that it's not fair for those players who got suspended, say, for smoking weed or for gambling on sports to only, to get suspended for a season or to have their career in jeopardy. But Deshaun Watson only got suspended for 6 games by allegedly sexually assaulting 26 women. It doesn't add up for me. It just does not add up for me. So, and also, let me tell you another thing. The Houston Texans settled the cases out of court so that they could reduce their liability. They settled the cases civilly out of court so that 20 out of the 26 cases were settled outside of court by the Texans. Then when Deshaun Watson got traded to the Browns, those cases were settled out of court remaining by the Browns and Deshaun Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin. But the catch is Deshaun Watson being suspended for this year. He just signed a $230 million all-money guaranteed contract. But this first year, he's only getting paid $1 million. So for him so if he's getting suspended for 6 games and he's getting paid $1 million and there's 17 games, basically he's missing out on $400,000. Now, to you and I, to the Joes and Janes of the world, $400,000 is a lot. But he still has $229.5 million that he's guaranteed to get from the Browns. And it's kind of as almost the Browns knew that he was going to get suspended, because that's why they structured the contract for his first year to only be $1 million, and then every subsequent year he's going to get paid at least $30 million a year. So can you see where the writing on the wall was for that, where the NFL kind of played this so that they knew to get Deshaun Watson back in and Deshaun Watson back onto the team? Now, if these allegations were false, if it was a situation like the Duke lacrosse team, I would be like, go, Deshaun Watson, get your money, do your thing. But these cases were settled. So people don't settle cases if they're innocent. I mean, for the record, they don't have innocence or guilty. They have no admission of guilt when they settle. But if you knew that you were innocent of committing a crime, would you pay somebody off so that the crime would go away? No, you would wait. You would have your day in court. So Deshaun Watson was basically taking random women, not licensed massage therapists or massage therapists that were in school, and he was just inviting them over, or he would meet them at the hotel room and then suggest, basically put them into a position to do sexual things. So he would do that, and there's a pattern that's shown in the court records that he did that to over 60 women. And he was able to continue his NFL career like nothing happened. So he's being suspended for 6 games. In the stipulation for the 6 games going forward, he's not allowed to solicit any massage therapist unless it's a team-sanctioned massage therapist, or if it's for a therapeutic reason that the team has to sign off on. So that's something to think about. What do you think about the Deshaun Watson situation? If you want to comment, go to my Twitter, Leo B. The Lion Show, or to my Instagram, Leo B. The Lion 87, and comment what you think about the Deshaun Watson situation or the Dolphins training camp. I'd love to hear your perspectives. I really think that it's one of those situations where it's got to be tough to be a Browns fan now. Do you root for Deshaun Watson? He had his day. He did have his day in court, but they settled, so he still technically he did allegedly assault those women. But do you cheer for him to do well as a Browns fan? That's a tough situation to be in. I'm glad I'm a Dolphins fan. Now, let's switch gears. That was negative light, and because of somebody's mistakes or somebody's pattern of behavior. But what I want to bring to you is now to talk about a legend in his own right. One of the winningest, if not the greatest champion in the history of the National Basketball Association and the history of North American team sports. Yeah, you might say, the Yankees have 27 World Series. The Celtics as a team have 17 championships. But Bill Russell is the greatest champion of all American sports with 11 championships. He not only was a great legendary player on the court, and he basically instituted the high-flying nature. He was the pioneer of the high-flying nature of the NBA today. Let's talk about why. Back in the 40s and 50s, centers weren't really that valuable. The tallest center in the 50s was 6'5", and this was before George Mikan. Once George Mikan came in, George Mikan was 7 foot, but he was more like a plodding, slow-moving, not very laterally quick, not very high jumper NBA player. Then, with Bill Russell being drafted, he was the first NBA player to average over 20 rebounds a game. He was the first player that in college players were taught to, while they're playing defense, to keep their feet firmly planted on the ground. And he was the first one that really pioneered the block. They didn't keep blocks as a stat during his career, but I'm willing to bet that he'd probably be the all-time leader in blocks if they did keep his stats. He was 11-time champion, a 5-time MVP, but that just is only like one little chapter of Bill Russell's book. I'll get to his stats later specifically. But he was a civil rights leader, and in my eyes, that's the biggest win anybody can do on or off the court. The reason why you would say, oh, well, you know, he's a basketball player. He's making a ton of money. Why would he need to be a civil rights leader? Because he experienced it growing up as an African-American. He experienced countless situations of racism. He experienced countless situations of segregation. I'll give you a hint. I'll give you an example, not a hint. In 1961, he had an exhibition game in Kentucky. And the Kentucky players, or the Boston Celtic players, weren't allowed to dine at this restaurant, and let alone to stay at the hotel. So, because of segregation in Kentucky. So, Bill Russell boycotted the game, and he boycotted the whole exhibition, and his teammates followed suit. Now, this was 1961. This was before Rosa Parks. And this was in the past where African Americans were expected to, you know, turn the other cheek and not stand up for what was right and just put up with the racial bigotry, and he didn't. And then also, just to give you a fact of, you know, yeah, he won 11 championships for Boston, but there was a time when the home team fans even threw racial slurs at Bill Russell. And Bill Russell, instead of yelling back, instead of vowing to get even, he channeled all that anger and all that despair into winning. The only time he didn't win when he got to the NBA Finals was because he sprained his ankle in the last game against the St. Louis Hawks, and that's the only time he didn't win when he was in the finals. He was a civil rights leader. He was with Muhammad Ali and Lew Alcindor and Jim Brown when they were standing up with Muhammad Ali showing support. He was with them saying, I don't care what happens to my career. I want to be here for my fellow African Americans, for civil rights, because standing up for what you believe in is more important than any basketball game, in my opinion. After Medgar Evers, a civil rights leader, was assassinated in 1963, Bill Russell went down to Mississippi and held the first integrated basketball camp ever in Mississippi. He also, just to give you one more illustration as to the kind of racism that Bill Russell endured, but still was a champion, still was a legend, and still exuded professionalism and class. He had it where he came home from a road trip one time, and he found graffiti of the N-word in his house, and somebody had defecated on his bed. Now, if that's not crazy, I don't know what is. I don't even know what I would do in that situation. You know, he went to the police, he filed the police report, and then that didn't happen again. But guess what happened? He went to the police subsequent to file police reports because his trash cans kept getting knocked over. And what did the police say? The police said, "Oh, it was raccoons in the area knocking the trash cans over." Well, what did Bill Russell say to that? He said, "Well, how can I get a permit to get a firearm?" And guess what? As soon as he said that, they stopped knocking over the trash cans. I love Bill Russell because it was, you know, he didn't score the most, but he scored when it counted. I admire those players from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s of the NBA because a lot of people say they're plumbers and artists or plumbers and you know, police officers, firefighters, blah, blah, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, you didn't play against the competition. Well, Bill Russell still got his numbers. He still was the first player to average 20 rebounds in a basketball game. And like I said, they didn't count blocks. So his blocks were probably innumerable. He had so many blocks. his favorite block was, he always said his favorite type of block was not to throw the ball 3 rows into the stands, but be able to block it and then catch it to get the rebound and then give his team an outlet pass. Bob Cousy said that Bill Russell was a pioneer, and he also said that the reason why the Celtics won those 11 championships was because of Bill Russell. They wouldn't have done it without Bill Russell. So rest in peace, Bill Russell, number 6 for the Boston Celtics, center. One of the best players to ever play, one of the top 75 NBA players, and one of the best Americans to ever live. Rest in peace, Bill Russell. Now, this is the Leo B. the Lion Show coming at you. Bottom of the hour. Just want to let you know you can follow me on Twitter, Leo B. the Lion Show, or on Instagram at Leo B. the Lion 87. Like and comment. I'm happy to debate with you, and I'm happy to discuss. If you'd like to be on the show sometime, DM me. Get at me. Let's schedule you to be on the show. I'd love to spend 15, 20 minutes in interviewing you about what makes you tick. And if you have a business, if you have a passion, if you have a passion or a hobby that you want to talk about, you know, we can set up time. We can set up time, and I'd love to give locals a chance for some free marketing and free pub. That's what I'm all about, is spreading the wealth. So let's switch gears from one legend to Legends of the Hidden Temple. We're talking Nick in the 90s. That's Nickelodeon. So what I wanted to tell you about today with Nickelodeon is, first, I saw Stick Stickly the other day, and the nostalgia in me, I don't know if it's something with every generation, but I think millennials are obsessed with nostalgia. We've remade Power Rangers. We've remade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've remade G.I. Joe. We've remade all those franchises that were in the past. Shoot, we remade Star Wars. And you know the prequels came out in 1999, so that was right up millennials' alley. So now that we're in our 30s and 40s, we're controlling the pub. We're controlling the show lineup. So we're doing a lot of remakes on things. So I do think that as millennials, we might be a little too obsessed with nostalgia. But to bring you Stick Stickly, for this guy, a little stick. For 4 years, he was Nick in the afternoons. He was just a little popsicle stick with some beady eyes, and he had an afternoon show from 3 to 5 where it was a U-dip where they would spin Stick Stickly, and they would pick whatever show they would want to air, and people could call in or write in. He had this little jingle that said, "Write to me, Stick Stickly, P.O. Box 963, New York City, New York State, 10108. And it was cool. Like, it was just cool back in the day as a kid. And that was back before email, obviously, where you would write letters. Yes, kids, we had a moment where we wrote letters to each other. We had to wait 3 business days for those letters to arrive. You know, and then we got email, and it picked up. So Stick Stickly, let me just jog your core memories for a moment, and if you remember him, you know, give me a shout out, and what was your favorite show to watch on Nick in the afternoons? One of my favorite shows was called Guts. I hope you remember it. Guts was one of the only sports shows on Nickelodeon in the 90s, and besides Wild Wild and Crazy Kids, Guts was so cool. It looked like so much fun. It was basically a sports show where kids had to use their guts, so to speak, to basically do different obstacle courses and different games. And then at the end of the game, whoever had the most points would climb this mountain called the Aggro Crag. And it was a mountain that had like smoke and things. If you pressed a button or you took the wrong step, confetti would get at you, and it would try to disorient you and everything like that. And it was such a cool show because they had this one game where you would shoot baskets, basically being attached to a bungee cord, and you would jump down and try to shoot the baskets. And there was another game where you had to swim, or there was another game where you had to do some kayaking and do the thing. So as a person who grew up loving sports, this show was right up my alley, and it was cool to see Mike O'Malley because Mike O'Malley is one of those figures growing up that he almost like transition. He kind of we grew up with Mike O'Malley. I didn't know he was bald until I got older because he always wore a hat on TV no matter what. And then I found out, oh, man's bald. Okay, oh, that's cool. Mike O'Malley's pretty cool still. And what was funny is that ESPN hired him after Nickelodeon, and he had this commercial series. I think it was called The Mick, and he was basically saying like he's a sports fanatic, number one sports fanatic, and they had him, making jokes about, oh, I watch ESPN, I watch Sports Center, and it was a cool little commercial series, and he made the show Guts a little bit more exciting because his host duties and how he did it, and he's similar to Mark Summers in many ways, where if you hear Mark Summers or you recognize Mark Summers, you'll be taken to back when Double Dare was big, and you'll be excited about that. Now, there was this one telethon back in the day they used to have for Earth Day. I do have to admit I'm not perfect. Leo B. the Lion is not perfect by any means. You could call in and speak to your favorite Nickelodeon celebrities, if you will. And they even had like recordings of like Chucky and recordings of Doug Funny, and you could call in and pledge how many hours you were going to do to help the environment. And I have to admit, I would call in because I was excited. I just wanted to talk about, I wanted to be able to talk about or talk to the Nick celebrities. And so I called in and was like, yeah, I pledge 8 hours of my time to help the environment. And then I didn't do anything. I was just excited to talk to the Nick people. It was just something as a kid, as like a 12, 13-year-old, that it was just something that's like, oh, yeah, I got a chance to talk to Summer Sanders on the off chance. Yeah, sure, I'll call in. And back then, you could call in to shows. It was more like about calling in than tweeting or messaging them online. And especially telethons were the big thing because that's the way that people had to reach the most audience and to be able to fundraise. So, yeah, I wasn't... I still remember that. It popped into my head. I put a Facebook status, and it just was fun to just remember the big help. I looked it up, and it was pretty cool on Wikipedia. And I didn't know that Stick Stickly only aired from 1994 to 1998. And I was surprised. I thought it was the whole of the 90s. I kind of remembered it being the whole of the 90s. But for only to be on air for 4 years, it's kind of special to the 90s. It's kind of like a quintessentially 90s thing. And so I just think that's pretty cool. And it was called Nick in the Afternoons from 3 to 5 p.m. Two of my hit the mic. Two of my favorite shows on Nickelodeon back in the day were Kenan and Kel and Pete and Pete. Now, you might shed a tear, but one of the saddest episodes that I've ever seen on a kid's channel was the Kenan and Kel episode, where Kenan was moving away because his dad was a air traffic controller, and they were moving to another city besides Chicago. And so Kenan and Kel bought walkie-talkies. And there was a situation where they were about to leave, and Kenan was it was almost poetic. Kenan was trying to reach Kel. And Kenan was at his house saying, like, Kel, I'm leaving. Where are you? I'm about to leave. But Kel had to help out his dad or somebody do something before he could go to see Kenan and say goodbye to Kenan. Well, as poetic as it gets, is that when Kel got back to the apartment or got back to the house, Kenan was gone. The door was open, and Kel remembered he had the walkie-talkie. And that episode ended with Kel being like, Kenan, and nobody would answer the walkie-talkie. First thing I thought of when I was a kid is like, dang, I wish the walkie-talkies had longer range so they could talk to each other. Two, I was like, man, I'm glad my best friends are still here back in the day. And, friends are important, guys. So reach out to your friend, tell them you care about them, and, reach out to them. You never know. Life is short. That's just something I wanted to react. Life is short. When you get presented with an opportunity, take it. Now, I want to bring you to the next subject. We're going to end the show with this subject, and that is sports gambling, a subject near and dear to my heart. not because the gambling aspect is fun, the entertainment, but I just like playing the games that come with gambling. I like betting on sports, but I'm frankly tired of going through these back channels. I downloaded the Hard Rock app back in the day last year when sports gambling was legal for a few 4 months, and it was a cool app. It was a nice app, and it was run by the Native American tribes in Florida, the Seminole tribe, Miccosukee, and the various tribes in Florida. Well, the Floridians for non-gambling, or the lobbying groups, basically appealed the decision. The decision was voted on by Florida voters, and it I believe, had a supermajority, or at least a majority. And so the Florida government and the Native American tribes got together and they set up a compact. The compact was to promise to give the Florida government each year $500 million for a 30-year compact, and they guaranteed $5 billion in the first, or they guaranteed $2.5 billion in the first 5 years. So everyone was expecting it to go off without a hitch. They still had to iron out, where could people make a bet? Did they have to make a bet on the Native American reservations at the Hard Rock? Or could they make a bet anywhere via their phone, and it would be, and be processed at the Hard Rock or at the Perry Mutual Center? A Perry Mutual Center is basically like another place that offers gambling, such as the Palm Beach Kennel Club or various kennel clubs around the state. If it's not on the Native American reservations, it's a Perry Mutual Center where you can, like, there's Magic City Casino, or, like I said, the Palm Beach Kennel Club. Well, the judge ended up ruling that it was unconstitutional because the players were making wagers outside of the jurisdiction of the Native American Compact and outside the jurisdiction of the Native American reservations. So the judge's main point was saying, okay, if you can make the bets, but it can't be legal statewide. It only can be legal in those vicinities, in those Native American reservation vicinities. And I really think that is a short-sighted decision. To be able to give Florida $500 million a year in revenue, it really makes me think that those lobbyists don't want the Native Americans to line their pockets. Those lobbyists against Florida gambling, they don't want to expand gambling, because right now we have blackjack, we have card games in Florida. Card games are basically, they're not a game of chance. Technically, if you were a math whiz, you could figure out the card games based on odds and everything like that. Whereas those games of chance, such as roulette, craps, those games, or sports gambling, those games, they're random chance. So roulette is random chance, craps is random chance. Every spin of the roulette wheel the odds remain the same. Every spin or every throw of the dice, you get the odds, and it's a random chance. So they don't want that to be legalized, because along with craps and roulette, they would legalize sports gambling. Florida is one of the only states that has not legalized sports gambling, and they're missing out on a lot of revenue. They're missing out on all the tax revenue and all the compact. Perhaps they can renegotiate the compact with the Native American tribes of Florida, but I just think it's one of those things where it's like the good old boys are trying to keep the Native Americans from making their share, and now they're saying how much of a windfall sports gambling would be. And they're saying, nah, $500 million isn't enough every year. They want to get more. They want to get more of that cut. So I think that's the reason why they're trying to stop and trying to put an injunction against sports gambling in Florida. It's really tragic, because Florida is such a welcome state for out-of-town visitors and for tourism, and gambling would just give that extra option to tourism. And with sports gambling legalized, it would allow the other portions of the other sides of sports gambling to come about, whereas Now, if you legalize sports gambling, you'll be able to make the sports gambling hotline. You'll be able to put more funds into the sports gambling hotline to help those who may be addicted to gambling. If you legalize sports gambling, you'll be able to put some of that money towards education or towards affordable housing or towards trying to get it, because the infrastructure is already there for the gambling. They already have the Native American reservations and the pari-mutuel centers. You just need to add the machines there, and so the infrastructure is already there. It's important for me to let you all know that sports gambling is coming to Florida. It's just a matter of time. I needs me my wagering. I know, I just have fun, especially with NFL season coming around. It's nice to throw down $25 and being like, oh, I hope the Dolphins win. It's nice to throw down $20, $50 and be like, yeah, I hope, Tua wins the MVP, stuff like that. It's nice to have fun and to watch the games while you got a little wager on it. That's pretty cool. But the longer that Florida bans sports gambling and other games of chance, the longer Florida is missing out on revenue. And yeah, money isn't the end-all be-all, but it's like 85%. So this is just something that's always been on my mind, and I wanted to bring it to you. I'm going to be talking more, following up with these sports gambling aspects and being able to bring them to you. And if there's any updates with the courts, any updates, I'd love to. You might catch me on the Victory Casino cruise lines here and there in Cocoa Beach. I'm there sometimes, or I might be at the Hard Rock trying to test my luck for the blackjack. But I definitely will be going to sports books once they finally get legalized. I'm so excited. And Leo be the Lion. I like to take chances, make mistakes, get messy. A la Miss Frizzle. Shout out to Miss Frizzle. Magic School Bus. 1990s, what's up? And I'll just be bringing to you, the sports section, basically, but mixed with the business. I'm trying to let you know things to look out for during the week and to bring you the week's biggest topics. Tua is going to continue to improve. This week we have NFL football. Something to look forward to. The preseason Hall of Fame game. The first football game is back, ladies and gentlemen. The first football game is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars versus I almost said Oakland. I almost said Las Vegas Raiders. So it's going to be exciting. I don't expect much. It's the first game. It's the Hall of Fame game. You're not going to see the starters. You might see the starters maybe 1 or 2 series. But football is back. Who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year? Who do you think will win the AFC East? Those are the 2 main things that I care about. Do you think that the Patriots will win the AFC East? Do you think the Bills are runaway? Will just run away and hide, win the AFC East? Those are all things that I'm going to be talking about throughout the season, throughout the shows, and on YouTube. Like I said, follow me on Instagram at LeoBTheLion87, on Twitter at LeoBTheLionShow, and I do have a YouTube channel, Leo B. The Lion Show, and I will be posting the YouTube videos of the radio show, as well as posting the audio recordings if you want to download it and listen to it again or watch again. It'll be on YouTube on Leo B. The Lion Show. And I'm happy to be bringing it to you every Monday, 5 to 6, here at Subculture Radio, subcultureradio.com. My producer Hunter's looking at me. How much time I got left, Hunter?
Well, hell, we ain't got anybody after you. You want to run the full hour? You got my full blessing, baby.
My man, Hunter. That's what I'm talking about.
Carry on. I'll let you know.
Thank you, sir. So shout out to Hunter for the producing work. He does yeoman's work, and for a novice like me on the tech skills, I'm happy to have someone in my corner that really knows his stuff. So thank you. And what was your band name again, Hunter? I want to give a quick plug for that.
Yeah, that group is called Underlined. Yeah. If you're into any weird agro-industrial metal or weird experimental kind of melodic metal, look us up. We're like bootleg Sub-Zero multiplied. Good times.
I'm a fan of Mortal Kombat and whole Mortal
Oh, hey,
Kombat franchise.
that's the whole gimmick. It's
So-
the whole gimmick, just looking like bootleg Sub-Zeros.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. You tell them, get over here for Scorpion, but if you're Sub-Zero, you might just freeze everybody in place so they can watch the show.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, but I just want to give, show a little shout out to the you said underline?
Yes, right. Underlined. You can look my nonsense up at underlined INC. That's underlined ink on all them glorious social medias.
That's what I'm talking about. So, if you are a fan of that type of music, do listen to it. He was just in Wynwood last weekend performance. So look him up. And I'm going to be bringing to you a couple bit more stories in the next couple weeks, just a little bit more about, some open-ended stories like where do you think the Dolphins are going? Who's going to win the NFL awards? Baseball's winding down, so I know there are some baseball fans out there. My Marlins aren't doing so hot. They can't hit the broadside of a barn. They've got great pitching. Sandy Alcantara, he's a Cy Young prospect. He might win the Cy Young. He was going to start the All-Star game, but Clayton Kershaw, being the Dodgers pitcher and it being in Chavez Ravine in L.A., he got the start. I still didn't agree with it because Sandy Alcantara is clearly the best player, but I know baseball wanted to do that for publicity. But if everybody knows Clayton Kershaw already and it's in his home stadium, why wouldn't you want to highlight the young new talent? That's something that baseball, in my opinion, gets wrong. They highlight the talent, but they don't do a good enough job following. They should. If my suggestion for baseball is they should follow the young prospects like a Hard Knocks type style thing, where they should do a Hard Knocks type thing on MLB Network or on ESPN or whatever, where they follow Juan Soto, where they follow Vladdy Guerrero, where they follow Bryce Harper, where they follow Mike Trout. Because a lot of players, if you don't live in Anaheim, you might know who Mike Trout is, but you don't see Mike Trout play. All of the games start at 10:30. You don't see Mike Trout play. You might see him on a random Sunday Night Baseball. You might see him in the All-Star game, but you don't have a feel for Mike Trout. They say he's going to be one of the best players that ever played. He's been playing in the MLB for 10 years. And we don't know more than about Mike Trout than what he did. And you got to say, oh, well, if you're an avid baseball fan, see, that's the thing. People miss this on the marketing aspect. If you're an avid baseball fan, you don't need to be marketed to, because you'll go out of your way and look at the games. You'll go out of the way and look at the stats. You'll go out of the way and look at the lineups or the pitching stats. It's those casual fans, those fans on the fence, those fans that, oh, let me go to this baseball game, because my boyfriend invited me or my girlfriend invited me or my dad loves baseball, so let me go with him to the baseball game. I don't really like baseball, but I'm just going to go. Those fans are the ones that you need to market to baseball. You need to market to those young fans so that they can grow up with a Juan Soto, with a Vladimir Guerrero, with a Bryce Harper. They grow up with those young players so that when they have kids, they'll be able to say, oh, man, I grew up seeing Juan Soto play. I grew up seeing these guys play, and it'll make a little bit of a legacy. I grew up loving sports because my grandfather, rest in peace, God rest his soul, George, would always tell me, we would go on walks around the neighborhood, he would always tell me about baseball. My dad's from Colombia. He plays soccer. He doesn't really know much about baseball. But my grandfather, on my mom's side, would always talk to me about sports, baseball. I remember it was him who told me about Michael Jordan's contract, making $30 million, $23 million a year in 1995. It was my grandpa telling me about the sports, walking around, because he grew up at the horse track, smoking cigars, the old Blue Eyes, the old crooner days of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, in the heyday of baseball. He knew about football. He knew about basketball, and he would tell me these sports. So that you could say that is the Leo B. the Lion origin story. I got that Colombian background mixed with the Irish, and it just came together all as a hurricane of sports. And so MLB, get better at marketing to the casual fan. It's important. Baseball is like fourth in popularity right now. You got football, basketball. More people like hockey than baseball at this point, and baseball is there. Even soccer is starting to overtake baseball. And I'm not saying this to say, oh, baseball needs to come back, but I just think it was fun when baseball was a national subject. Now baseball is just a regional subject, and it has the oldest fan base of any sport. You know, basketball markets to younger players, younger people. Football markets to younger people. All the sports market to young people, trying to get the young people excited. The NFL actually broadcasts playoff games on Nickelodeon, speaking of Nickelodeon, and they have slime involved, but baseball doesn't do any of that. So baseball, I'm going to be talking more about that, and also I'm going to be talking about the World Cup when it comes. The World Cup's going to be in Qatar this year. It's not during the summer because it gets up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit in Qatar in the summer in the Middle East. So they moved the World Cup to the fall, which might be a little tricky, but we'll see. We'll be talking about that more when it gets down to it. It might be a problem for a lot of the Euro players because a lot of the Euro leagues are going to be in session at that point. So be on the lookout for me every Monday from 5 to 6 live, subcultureradio.com, and downloadable content soon to come. Leo B. the Lion signing out.